This Monday edition of Pucks Across Borders brought to you by none other than First Round Collectibles. Right now, with the promo code Sports Addict, you get 10% off whatever sports card your heart desires on FirstRoundCollectibles.com. What sports do you like? Hockey, basketball, football, baseball, maybe wrestling. You can get it all at FirstRoundCollectibles.com. Use the promo code Sports Addict for 10% off. That's promo code Sports Addict at FirstRoundCollectibles.com. Number one, STRoundCollectibles.com. First Round Collectibles, sports cards for sports fans.
Yeah. Let's go. We just gotta go hard. I go the hardest. I bring the pain. Not what you used to. It's all part of the game. Yeah, I just gotta go hard. I just gotta go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Yeah. Oh yeah, the beast back. Adrenaline pumping through my veins. Can't relax. Original. I am not the same as these cats. I sting them if they never.
And we're live on a Monday evening, a little later than normal, but we're back. Good to see everybody. Thank you for joining us. At the top of your screen, you read his work on Gridiron Heroics about the NFL. John, how we doing on a Monday, bro? How we feeling?
Doing all right, man. Anxious to get into this hockey right before puck drop for a lot of people, so we're leading them right into it.
Yes, sir. And at the bottom of your screen, you read his work about the NFL on Gridiron Heroics, Winners and Whiners. You will watch him talk about the NFL and the NBA on Total Apex Sports. Andre, how are you, man?
Doing pretty good today. Monday, not the slow kind, not the miserable kind. Just a nice, calm, solid Monday.
That's right. And everybody soak up this week of NHL. There's 51 games this week. And between Sunday and the next 9 days after Sunday, there are only 10 games in the NHL, with the All-Star break and the basically bye weekish thing for half the teams 1 week, half the teams the next week. So we got 51 games in the NHL this week, but man, it's going to be slim pickings the next couple of weeks. Way too long, in my opinion. And a complete side note, they're whining that they can't take 2 weeks off for the Olympics because well, then what are we doing here? Seems pretty much the same thing to me. But anyway, I digress. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on Pucks Across Borders. Lots of games for a Monday night. We'll dive into it all. But first, let's get into our takeaways for the weekend. And Andre, I'm going to kind of tease your takeaway a little bit here, because you were texting us yesterday about your Rangers, saying they suck. And then I'm watching the Leaf game. I look at my phone. Your boys win 5-2. Does it matter? Do they still suck?
Yeah, I kind of broke yesterday. But I'm sticking with what I said. It's since I'm going to kind of tease tomorrow, actually. Since they beat the Sharks on December 3rd, they've played 23 games. They're 11-11-1 in those games. And, no team is perfect. Every team goes through struggles, whatever. At first, I was like, yeah, it'll pass. They're playing bad, whatever. January has been awful, and it's been a lot of the same things, and it's impossible for me to ignore or sugarcoat. I've been trying to dance around it and pretend it doesn't exist. But the 5-on-5 play from the Rangers is, for the millionth year in a row, an issue. Just too many turnovers. They're not in transition. They're not picking up the right guys. Those line changes are kind of sloppy sometimes. They give up way too many high danger chances, which is the last thing you need to do when you have a very good goaltending duo. It's pretty much nullifying our greatest strength. I mean, I just don't know. There's a lot of issues. The roster probably needs another piece. We'll see when Philip Hedl, if he comes back, when he comes back, how that fits in and changes things. But there's just the 5-on-5 play is not sustainable, and special teams can't carry you through the postseason. We've seen it with this Rangers team time and time again. They're not playing well. I don't care that they came back from down 2-0 to beat the Ducks 5-2. I don't care that on paper they're, looking good. They're out shooting teams and whatever, because it is a process-oriented game. Most sports are. But at the end of the day, results are what you play for. Results are how you make your money from top to bottom. And the results have not been matching. So the process needs fixing somehow, some way. Now, I know the Rangers aren't terrible. It could be worse. But the past month, I think, finally broke me. And I think I'm finally ready to accept it. This team is not at their best right now. They need something to change to pick it up, because the Metro's getting tighter. The President's Trophy is getting further away. And a first round exit looks a lot more realistic again than it did a month ago.
Well, and I mean, Philly and Carolina both did you guys a huge favor on the weekend. Like, Philly went 0-2, and I don't think Carolina played on Saturday, if I remember correctly, but they played yesterday and they lost. Yeah. So, yeah, they did you guys a big favor. John, what about you, man? What's your takeaway from this past weekend?
My takeaway is going to be focused on the city of Detroit. And people like to joke in another sport about a quote-unquote script. Well, I'll deliver a Hollywood script for you guys. Imagine when you have the city of Detroit have two teams hosting on the same day, one of which before last week hadn't played a home playoff game in 30 years. They hosted the Tampa Bay Buccaneers yesterday in football and won. Well, that was an impromptu game for what led on later in the day between the Detroit Red Wings and the Tampa Bay Lightning. That was also in Detroit. And Detroit, the Red Wings, they won that game too. So overall, it was just a weird – I found that to be a very weird coincidence, considering like the Red Wings game was scheduled months in advance, and this one happened to be scheduled like a week in advance. They play on the same day. It was an important game. Well, obviously, it was much more important for one than the other, but it was still kind of an important game for the Red Wings, too. Sure. They gained points on the Lightning in a very tight Eastern Conference, and both of them are currently trying to hang on to the last wild card spots. So I think my takeaway is Detroit got a nice double dip of beating Tampa Bay yesterday. And honestly, as a sports fan in general, just kind of find it to be a funny coincidence on the schedule.
Coincidence? I don't know, man. Coincidence. I don't know. My takeaway is I was listening to the radio this morning and I was hearing them talk about comments made by their name's escaping me, Alvin, and Jim Rutherford, the management over in Vancouver, talking about how they will add pieces at the deadline. They'll do whatever it takes because the players deserve it. And same types of conversations happening out in Winnipeg. And I firmly believe this, and I wouldn't have said this. I don't know. Maybe you guys disagree. I wouldn't have said this like, I don't know, 1 month ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago. But I don't think you do anything to these two rosters. I feel like these two teams are the best teams in the league right now. I think that we've all talked about how Colorado is a very good team, but has its warts. Same with Dallas. The Kings are who knows now? Vegas have Jack Eichel's out for the next while. I know that they've been playing better lately, but who knows with them? I don't know, man. I feel like Winnipeg and Vancouver have been playing so well. Maybe a back end defenseman, maybe, but we've seen this with teams um before, where you add all these pieces at the deadline and it's just too much. I know that the Leafs won. What you thought I was going to get through this without talking about the Leafs? No way. They they made they added 6 new players at the deadline last year, and I know they beat Tampa, but they fell flat on their face against Florida. Boston, same thing last year. Boston had this crazy President's Trophy run, and they made, I don't know, a few too many pieces, and they collapsed against the Panthers. I got to watch Vancouver against the Maple Leafs firsthand on Saturday night, which was an incredible hockey game. The fact that we lost, it is what it is, man. Getting to watch that hockey game, that was incredible. Understanding Ottawa gave Winnipeg a bit of a run on Saturday. I think these two teams both have a chance to make it to the Stanley Cup Finals, and I don't think you add one piece. I just don't know who else can beat those two teams right now, and I think they deserve to ride it out without what's the term, like shaking the apple cart or something weird like that, something with regards to fruit. Have you guys heard that? I think that's it. Something fruit with the apple cart or something. Don't change anything. I love these two teams, and I think they should be given the benefit of the doubt for a deep run in the postseason. All right. Bad beats. And you know what, man? I'm just going to start because I need to get it off my chest. Yesterday, I was a fool. And I had the Philadelphia Flyers against the Ottawa Senators tied to everything. This Philly team has made me money all season. I love them. I think they're great. I propped them up on this hockey pedestal, and they were up 3-1 against the Ottawa Senators, who suck. And they're up 3-1, and they lose the game. Not just lose the game, they lose it 5-3. The empty netter at the end and everything, and it ruined everything. I had it tied to the Lions. I had it tied to the Chiefs. I had it tied to the Lions and the Chiefs. I had it tied to the Rangers. I had it tied. I'm trying to remember who. I gambled a lot yesterday, and it all was tied to Philly, and it friggin' stupid mistake, and I'm upset about it still. But I just saw that I got a free bet, so you can't win it back if you don't lose it all in the first place, John. You gotta bounce back strong. What about you, man? What was your bad beat from this weekend?
I'll just start by saying this segment is becoming my annual time to rant about and vent about the Blackhawks. I think me and the Blackhawks have more of a tumultuous relationship than Andre did with the Flames. It's getting to the point where the Blackhawks are like that girlfriend that you're living with, and you're fighting all the time behind closed doors, trying to keep up a good front in public, and you're fighting, and it just gets to be too much. And it's to the point where you just blow up in public, have a fight, go home, but then the girlfriend steals the show in the bar the next night and is the center of attention. It's like, what are we doing here? I'm so mad at the Blackhawks and frustrated that I can't pick them when they're actually not a bad bet sometimes, like on Friday night against the Islanders. And to add insult to injury, the Islanders fired their coach the very next day. The very next day. It's like losing to the Blackhawks is the rock bottom of that organization, to the point where the Islanders finally feel like, okay, we need a change. We need to bring in Patrick Raw. And to his credit, Islanders won the next night against Dallas. A good win, I might add.
Yeah, man.
So I think this is a combination of it's interesting the move the Islanders made, and we were talking about a little bit about this pre-show that it probably was for the best for the Islanders. But I think it all ties around to my frustration with the Blackhawks, ironically, like the timing of it at least. I just can never get them right this year. Never.
So, forgive my memory. What did you bet on then? Because they won the game. What was your bet?
I picked the Islanders to
Oh, yeah. Well, your loss is my gain. And Andre, thank you.
Well, you guys had the bigger reward, so I'm glad you hit, if anything.
I mean, listen, if we're going to keep this analogy going, John, everybody sees that she's no good, bro. Everybody sees it but you, man. You know? I know that you're struck down by her, by the way she moves, which isn't saying much because Chicago's awful, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Everyone sees that she's just dragging you down, man. You just gotta let her go. You just gotta let her go. Andre, what's your bad beat, bro?
I don't know if I can follow any of that up. Yeah, I'm gonna dip into another sport here. I'm gonna dip into college basketball. My alma mater played Saturday night against Villanova. They were in Philly. God, I hate that place. And I guess it was part of a parlay with the Rangers in it, so I guess it's related to hockey somewhat. Anyway, I took UConn, defending national champs and number 1 in the nation right now, -2.5 against the spread, you know, because I know Philly's a tough place to play. And they went up 4. Tristan Newton hit 2 free throws. They went up 4 with 4 seconds left. I'm like, this is awesome. Just pretty much cashed in. Like, Nova lost. They're not going to attempt a shot because all you kind of do is sit back, not foul. And it's iced, right? Guy out Nova gets the inbound, gets the ball, pulls up from half court for no reason, because why not? Drains it. UConn wins by 1 point. Parlay is dead. Because some guy in the game that was decided just chucked one up for fun, and it went in.
That's awful.
Yeah,
I didn't realize the full context of that when you texted us that. I didn't really clue in.
No, very end of the game, half court 3.
Oh, that's brutal.
Take it from UConn up 4, which would have hit for me, to UConn winning by 1, which was the only thing that would have cost me the parlay. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's brutal. That's like when the Warriors beat the Wizards.
Yes.
All those months, a couple months ago. Yeah. And I can't remember if they were winning by 15 or like 14 or whatever. And the 3-point ruined the spread. And like Chris Paul and all those dudes on the bench clearly knew that whatever. I just had another thought on your analogy, John. You guys were breaking up and you tried to make her jealous by picking a different girl, but then Andre and I just took out your girl and they won. And instead of making you or making her jealous, she just made you jealous. We could go down this road like long time. There's
a lot of ways we can go with this one.
There is, and we'll cut it short right there. I've been told the longer I talk, the more worried people get. So we'll move on to tonight's action, starting in Boston. And you know what? I saved all these, and it went back to the way it was. So whatever. I'll just read it off. Boston home against Winnipeg. minus 142 now. This changed over the last hour or so. Boston minus 142, Winnipeg plus 120. The over is 5.5 at minus 102. The under is minus 118, plus 1.5 for Winnipeg is minus 218. Minus one, or sorry, plus 1.5 is minus 218. Minus 1.5 is plus 180. John, we'll start with you, man. What are you seeing in this game?
Uh, I got a question. You said it's minus 142 now, so I got a
Yeah.
question why Boston's such a big favorite in this game. I realize they're one of the best teams in the league, but Winnipeg is no slouch either.
Yes.
Boston's coming off a 9-goal game, so I want to think that has a little bit to do with it, but I don't fully buy that. Winnipeg's coming off a nice 2-1 win over measly Ottawa, but not a lot of travel involved. I think both of them last played on Saturday. I think it's no secret for our listeners out there that all three of us, for that matter, have been pretty high on this Winnipeg team throughout the year, and myself included. I realize Boston's a pretty good team. The power play is definitely an advantage on Boston's side, but Winnipeg really isn't far behind in a lot of categories. I mean, they're barely behind in goals per game. I think they're behind by like 0.37. But Winnipeg's the number one team in the league in goals allowed. So I do think they're capable of keeping up with this Boston team. I think the three of us at least have given Winnipeg their credit through this last month or two at least. I feel like this is good value, honestly, to get Winnipeg this much plus money. I'm assuming the plus side went up a little bit too. With that said, I think I would chance it. Pick Winnipeg on the road here.
What about you, Andre? What do you see here?
Yeah, the Winnipeg Jets have now gone 34 straight games without allowing more than 3 goals, which is
crazy.
Lunacy. I feel like that doesn't get talked about enough. That's so impressive. That being said, all good things must come to an end. And like I did on Thursday with the Avalanche in TD Garden to take on this Bruins team, I'm going to take the leap of faith with the Bruins minus 1.5 here.
Wow.
I think they're going to get revenge for that loss in Winnipeg, that 5-1 ugly game.
Yeah.
I think they're going to want payback for that one. This is a game that could very well, looking very far ahead, determine home ice in the Stanley Cup. These are the top 2 teams in points percentage right now, if I'm not mistaken. I know it's interconference, but this is a pretty big game. The Bruins are monstrous at home, and they've won 4 in a row. They're playing well right now. 3-0 over the Devils is impressive. 5-2 over the Avalanche is impressive. Giving up 4 to the Canadiens is a bit concerning, but when you score 9, it doesn't really matter. All 3 of those wins, multi-goal wins at home. I like this Bruins team is doing. I think they remembered that December 22nd beatdown in Manitoba exactly a month ago. So I'm going to take the Bruins puck line at plus 180.
Yeah, that game was a beatdown. I actually remember that game. That was awful. Winnipeg just destroyed them. So I'm really interested in this game. I mean, I just talked about Winnipeg a couple minutes ago. I don't know if you guys feel different. I know you love the Sharks. Maybe you feel different. To me, this is the game of the night, and it's not even close. I know your team plays, John, and we'll get to that in a couple minutes. But to me, this game is a must-watch television for me. I'm really interested in a couple trends that I noticed. Jets 10-1 in their last 11. Bruins 4-game winning streak. I noticed that the Jets in the last 30 games, and I say 30 because I just kept counting, and I decided just to stop at 30 because I just kept counting forever. In the last 30 games, the over, if we're calling the over 6.5, and I know that it's 5.5 tonight. if we're calling the over 5.5, the over has hit 5 times in 30 games for the Jets. They score, but they don't, like, if they allow 2 or less goals, then they're also scoring 2, 3, 4 goals. Like, they're not scoring 5, 6 goals a night. And then on the Boston side, and I know there's been some weird games like 6-5, 9-4, or whatever it was recently. Boston, in their last 10 games alone, the over has hit 7 times. So for Winnipeg, it's taken 30 games for 5 games to hit over. And we all know all the games Winnipeg won. And 7 out of 10 games have hit over for Boston, which tells me if this game goes over, then Boston wins, is how I kind of feel about it. If Winnipeg can play the way that they have been playing, then it's probably going to go under based on the trend, which makes me lean under on this game. Now, I'm not crazy. 2 of the best teams of the league. I'm not going to go out here and say it's lock it up. It's under 5.5. These 2 teams are phenomenal, and that's way too low for me to guarantee anything. But I'm kind of feeling that way about this game because I think, John, I don't like how this is starting already. I agree with you. And I think Winnipeg wins this game. I also would get extra cocky, and let me just bring this up. Plus 255 for Jets minus 1.5. I think Boston has been outscoring teams lately, which obviously you do that to win games, but you know what I mean. It's been a bit dicey, and I just think 6-5 games aren't going to fly against Winnipeg. They're just not. 9-4 games, it's not going to fly. Winnipeg is going to lock that down. And I think Winnipeg wins this hockey game, and I would even, sprinkle a little bit on the minus 1.5. That's getting greedy. You don't need to do that with the plus 120. Moving on. Now, this game might be the most important game of the night when it comes to this circle of friends, triangle of friends. I don't know. Sounds weird.
I
But
think
you know
my
what I
team's the
mean.
only one playing tonight of the 3 of us.
Yep, they are. And Pittsburgh is in Arizona. I think the Coyotes can win that game, but you never know. Minus 122 are the Devils at home, plus 102 for Vegas. I know that Eichel's hurt, but Jack Hughes is hurt. Why they're favored this heavily, I'm not too sure, other than being at home, but we'll get to it all. Minus 122 at home, plus 102 is Vegas on the road. Over is 6 at minus 115. The under is minus 105. Plus 1.5 for Vegas is minus 245. Minus 1.5 for the Devils is plus 200. John, how are we feeling about this game?
Full disclaimer, my heart's talking a lot for what I'm about to say. I like the Devils a lot tonight. A lot. I think a big reason is because they got smacked, and I mean smacked, on Saturday night. It was arguably the worst loss of the year. I mean, that final score was 6-2, but it was well over by the beginning of the third period. They were down 6-0 at one point in that game against Dallas. I really like the Devils to bounce back. It seems like the sports books agree. I think it says a lot that the Devils are still favorites in this game against a team like Vegas, but I feel like Vegas can be had. They're not the most consistent lately. They're starting a road trip in the East Coast now. I believe they had to fly all the way from Vegas after Saturday night against the Penguins, and the Devils have been nice and cozy at home. I want to think that plays a part of it. Again, my heart's talking here. I feel like this is not a great matchup for a team like Vegas because the Devils are very much a track meet team that likes to run up and down the ice. I don't know if that's friendly for Vegas or not, especially with them not being 100% right now. I I'm not gonna lie, I don't exactly know. I didn't have time to do the research on a goaltending matchup tonight. I'd be interested for both sides because like Dawes got smacked on Saturday, though many Devils fans have been defending him, saying the defense let him down. Uh, and Vanacek had a solid night on Friday, so I think that creates a bit of a debate for who would start tonight for the Devils. And Vegas, this is the first half of a back-to-back for them, so I don't know. I don't know if either team is a lock behind net yet.
Vanacek and Thompson are on DraftKings goalie props right now.
Yeah, Vanacek had a good game on Friday against Columbus, arguably his best game of the year. Obviously, this is a much bigger step up in class, but I don't know. Vanacek seems like he's getting a second chance here. It makes sense because he had a very good night Friday. Dawes got smacked on Saturday. Again, my heart's talking here, but I feel like this is a game the Devils can win. Vegas may look ahead to the Islanders tomorrow night. I don't know. This is the first game of a road trip on the East Coast. I like to think they're vulnerable here. Hard talking. Give me the Devils.
Yeah, Dawes did get destroyed, and I'm such an idiot. I wasn't paying attention. I had Wedgwood and Dawes in net on my fantasy team. And I got the guaranteed win because one of them had to win, so that was good. But oh man, my stats got lit up with that 6th spot. Andre, what do you see in this one, man? Maybe you're on the same page as me. I'm all right.
I think we're on the same page here.
It's between me and you, Andre. Don't tell John. I'm getting nervous though. Like I think that this is bad. I'm getting worried.
Well, we'll keep it between us, man. But
yeah.
I really like Vegas in this spot.
Yeah, so too.
They seem to have, I know they're on the road after a long homestand, but they seem to have figured something out in the last 3 games. 4-1 over the Predators, 5-1 over the Rangers, 3-2 over the Penguins. And now they're taking on a Devils team that we've documented is not very good at home. They've lost 3 in a row on home ice. For the season, they're below 500 at home. I think they're 9-11-2. And like you said, Eichel's out, but so is Hughes. So I think in general, the Knights are a better team. And with the way that each team is playing right now, the Devils are kind of scuffling a bit lately. I just really don't think this is a good spot for them.
Really quickly, because we do got 4 other games to get to, but John, do you think the injury to Dougie Hamilton is not getting talked about enough?
Probably not, mainly because Jack Hughes is probably getting a lot of the attention with that.
Sure.
I even felt
you're way deeper up front than you are in the back.
For sure.
Not defense deep up front, but
you're right, because defense has been a big issue for us this year for sure, 100%. I think the only caveat is Dougie Hamilton's not really known as like a defenseman, if that makes sense. He's more of an offensive defenseman. So I wouldn't blame his injury for the defensive struggles in general, but I would say it doesn't help.
Sure.
You know? But yeah, I mean, when he's healthy, he's one of our better scorers in general. So yeah, it's a loss for sure. I still think Jack Hughes is the bigger loss, because
Of course.
we've said before he's like basically a one on one. But yeah, it's an issue, no doubt.
Uh, I'll keep this short and sweet. I'm picking Vegas. I think the Devils. I'm getting nervous for your boys. I the
Understandable.
the this isn't meant to be a uh you know devils and like hell pun, but it's getting hot under Lindy Ruff right now.
A lot of
It's
Devils fans want him fired. So you're
yeah,
not wrong.
it's getting a bit spicy down there, and I'm worried about it. I don't think they waited it out last year. I don't think they'll do that again. I also I also really do think I was thinking about this over the weekend. I think expectations for the Devils were a little bit unfair. I think that they played very well last year, but that wasn't necessarily expected. And then now to all of a sudden be like, go deep. I don't know. I think they're being treated a little bit unfairly with the expectations. With all that said, I'm picking Vegas plus money. Short and sweet Vegas, 3-game winning streak. Uh Devils 4-6 in their last 10. Vegas 11 goals allowed in their last 6. And the Devils aren't scoring a ton of goals right now over the course of the last few weeks. So give me Vegas plus money. Moving. Whoa. What am I doing here? Music City. There we go. Florida in Nashville. Nashville plus 105 at home. Florida minus 125 on the road. Minus 1.5 for the Panthers is plus 195. Plus 1.5 for Nashville. Minus 238. Over is 6 at minus 108. The under is minus 112. Andre, what do you see here, bro?
Yeah, the Panthers were red hot, and now they've lost 4 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
It's mostly goaltending, right? They've allowed 18 goals in those 4 losses. Devils scored 4. Ducks scored 5, which is very concerning. The Red Wings scored 3, which is actually pretty good. And then the Wild scored 6, which, again, is not good. Now they're on Broadway, taking on a Predators team that kind of needs a win. It's about to head back on the road for 3 straight games. It's a tricky spot for both teams. I think the Panthers are better, though. I think that their goaltending will figure it out. They got a couple days off between Friday's game and today. And as far as road trips go, I think Nashville is the second closest team to them. It's not like they went anywhere crazy. The Predators, man, I know they won one of those games in LA, but they're just not scoring really right now. The offense in general is kind of just mediocre. The PK is mediocre. The goaltending is honestly mediocre. I just see this as a Panthers minus 125. I think is great value for a team that's clearly better in pretty much every way. I know they haven't played like it lately, but they need to get back on track. And I think this is one where they pick up 2 points that they need. So give me minus 125. I don't really need to mess with it at all, and give me the under 6.
Yeah, I'm really nervous about the Panthers in this game. I think the Panthers are the obvious choice. I have paraded Nashville throughout the year. I actually do like this team. I do think Panthers are the obvious choice. However, this 4-game losing streak's a little bit concerning. And what I noticed, so they lost, was it 2 goals, or which game that you mentioned in that 4-game losing streak where they scored 4 goals but lost?
Friday night against Minnesota. I think.
Against the Wild and the Ducks, they scored 4, but they gave up 5 against the Ducks and then 6 against Minnesota.
Yeah, so those two times, and I could be wrong here, but I'm almost positive I saw this. The only other time that they had allowed 4 goals and lost all year was the second game of the season. They lost 6-4 against the Jets. That's the only other time that they scored 4 goals and lost, which shocked me. Probably because I'm a Leaf fan and we do it all the time. But so that's like a little bit concerning, only because it's not like them, right? Like it just doesn't really feel like they're playing their hockey right now. I wouldn't be mad at you for taking Nashville plus money, but I just feel like the Panthers got to start bouncing back here at some point in time. And why not do it against Nashville? I will say Nashville 6-4, their last 10. Average hockey right now. They're not playing great. They're not playing poorly. They're just kind of hanging around there. The under has hit in the last 4 straight Nashville games. I do feel like if the over hits, Panthers win. If the under hits, Nashville wins. That's kind of how I feel about this game. John, what do you see here?
I'm leaning Florida. When it comes to these next two games, I wanted to take one of the home teams, but I think in this one I'm going to stay away and stick with Florida, mainly because they've been a reliable favorite for most of the year before the losing streak. And a lot of my reasoning for this pick relates to what Andre just said about the goaltending. But I'll add to it. I personally think Florida is due to like have a solid goaltending performance. You saw Friday night's loss where they gave up 6 goals to the Wild, and earlier last week they gave up multiple goals to the Ducks as well. That's not like this team. We know they're a lot better than that. They're still, even despite this drought for goaltending for Florida, they're still top 4 in the league in goals allowed despite it. I personally think Florida is very much due for a shutdown game. Um, I'm leaning towards they get back on track. This team's too talented to keep losing for that much longer and giving up this many goals every game. I don't think it's going to happen tonight. I think for that reason, I would pick Florida. I'm a little tempted to pick the under as well. I don't fully agree about this being an under game Nashville win. I feel like if Florida gets their goaltending together, they can win while staying under. But
Right.
I got to be honest. I'm leaning towards an under in this game too, just for that reason. I just really think Florida's due for a solid performance.
All right, moving to the desert, Arizona, home against Pittsburgh. Arizona plus, oh, this even changed in the last like half an hour. Arizona is plus 130, Penguins minus 155, plus 1.5 for the Coyotes, minus 198, minus 1.5 for the Penguins, plus 164. The over is 6 at minus 110, and the under is also minus 110. Pittsburgh 3-5 in their last 8. I don't know how I feel about Pittsburgh in this spot, to be honest with you guys. I feel like Pittsburgh, I mean, they got Crosby and they got Gensel and they got Carlson back there. And they got Malkin and they got good pieces, but are they playing better than the Coyotes this year? I don't know if they are. Like, they are based on what we like know them as, and they have one of the best players in the league with Sidney Crosby, who is still playing at a very high level. I know Coyotes 3-6 in their last 9. The real question here for me And I know Pittsburgh, 7th in the league in goals against. In their last 17 games, they have won twice, allowing 3 or more goals. And I do wonder, we've seen the Coyotes score. There's, I don't know, certain games where they put pucks in the net. I don't know. I'm leaning Coyotes here, boys, to be honest with you. And I'm not 100% certain why. I just feel like Pittsburgh is being really highly favored. And if you look in the context of the whole year, they're not playing that much better than the Coyotes, in my opinion. I don't know. That's where I stand. John, where are you at?
I might gain some mark points with this pick, but I'm also on Arizona tonight.
Hey.
I'm trying to. I think my
Like
initial reaction was this. My initial reaction to this game was that Pittsburgh seemed overvalued, so I'm trying to make sense of it in my head. So I came up with 2 reasons why the line might be what it is. The first being Pittsburgh obviously has the stars playing well, I might add. We've talked about Sidney Crosby still having a great year despite how long he's been in the league now. On the Arizona side of things, Mark touched on their play of late. And I've noticed they're falling further behind in the Western Conference when it comes to the playoff picture. They're still technically tied for 9th, but like compared to when they hit the 40 game mark, they're much further behind now. Instead of like being close to tied, they're 4 or 5 points back at 4 points back, of the last spot. I feel like they're losing ground quickly, Arizona, and this game is becoming important. These games coming up for Arizona are becoming more important because they're slipping behind the top 8 teams in the West. And I think I think Arizona can go toe-to-toe with Pittsburgh. Statistically, they're pretty close in terms of goals scored per game. They're separated by 0.05 in that category.
Yeah.
I think Arizona has a tremendous advantage in power play, and maybe I'm making too much of this home ice thing in that Tempe arena, but maybe they can rock for a national team like Pittsburgh tonight. I don't know, or they'll have a little chip on their shoulder if the transplants try to take over the building. Who knows? But Pittsburgh's a solid goaltending team, no question about that. Arizona, I don't think, is much further behind in that category. Like I said, the power play, I think, is what makes the difference. If Arizona can get a few opportunities tonight, I believe they can take advantage of that. And I think this is a spot where Arizona can win.
Andre, how do you feel, man? Clean sweep or lone wolf?
Yeah. In 2024, since the calendar flipped, the Yotes are 3-5-1. Head to head against the Penguins, they've lost 11 in a row, and only 2 of those games were within 1 goal. It's looking ugly for the Yotes. That being said, I'm going to roll with them too.
Yes.
I like them at home. I think they've played just as well, if not better, than Pittsburgh for most of the year. And I don't think the Penguins are doing anything special lately either. They're 3-3-2 since 2024 started. I just really don't like how either team is playing, so I'm going to roll with home ice in Tempe. Those Arizona State students going crazy. There's not really much of a reasoning for this one. I truly don't like how either team has been in 2024, but under 6 for me, and I'll roll with the Yotes money line.
And listen, I don't know much about transplants. All right. I know Florida and I know California, lots of snowbirds down there. Are there really that many people from Pittsburgh who are ending up in Arizona? I don't know.
East Coast people
It's
in
not
general.
Vegas. It's not, I don't know. I feel like Arizona, I don't know. Just how I feel on the inside. I can't explain it.
I feel like nobody's from Pittsburgh, but everyone who's ever had family from Pittsburgh or just like grew up in Pittsburgh leaves and multiplies, and then everyone in the world just becomes a Pittsburgh fan.
No one sticks around, I think is what he's trying to say.
That's so funny. It's a great city though. One of my favorite places to go, Pittsburgh. It's wonderful.
Permanente is fire.
I have.
I got a soft spot for
experienced it.
Pittsburgh. It's fun.
I've experienced it. I loved it. I also had the Rothless burger somewhere. I can't remember what restaurant it was, but I had the Rothless burger, and it was a burger. I was like, oh, the Rothless burger, I gotta have this, and it was good. It was fine, but Pimenti is phenomenal.
My one gripe with Pittsburgh is that two rivers converging should not form a third river. That's just like common facts.
Everybody
So I don't understand where they got
that
this
city is a
river.
damn bridge or a river.
What a great point. Is it really three rivers if two rivers just make one?
That's what I'm saying. Allegheny, Monongahela, it shouldn't become Ohio. That's not how it works.
That's so funny. I also, back in the day when I still smoked cigarettes, I was in Pittsburgh like a decade ago, and I'm looking for like a convenience store or somewhere to buy darts, and the only place I could find to buy darts was a bar with like cigarette like vending machine in the bar, and I was like, this is America. This is the land of the free right here. Absolutely love it. All right. Shipping ourselves north out of the land of the free. I won't get too political about that, but we're in Canada, in Vancouver, minus 440 at home. Here we go. Oh, it changed. Minus 455 for Vancouver.
God, I cheated.
Plus 350 now. For the Blackhawks. These Blackhawk money lines, just the way you like them, John. Minus 1.5 for Vancouver. What's that?
Reserving the time slot tomorrow to rant about the Blackhawks already.
Minus 1.5 for the Canucks is minus 175. Plus 1.5 for the Blackhawks. Plus 145. Over is 6 at minus 112. The under is minus 108. Andre, we'll start with you, man. How are you looking at this game?
Well, this feels a little dirty because I already have a parlay involving the Blackhawks money line, but I'm gonna go with the John play here in Canucks minus 2.5 at minus 110. I don't really know how to attack this game. One team is incredible. The other team lost their all-star rookie that was the only shining hope for the season. The Canucks have won 5 in a row against the Blackhawks. Surprisingly, though, the only one that was within one goal was in December in Chicago when the Canucks only won 4-3. Oh. That being said, this is in Vancouver. BC is a little different. The Blackhawks are still not a good team. It's still wiser to take them to lose by multiple goals each time. So I'm going to take the over 6. Because I'm taking Canucks minus 2.5. And if they're going to score at least 3 goals, you're probably looking at 4 or 5 for that to hit. Might as well take the over. It's common sense.
Yeah. I think Vancouver wins this game, clearly. I'm weirding myself out with this one, though. I'm putting myself in a weird place. So this is these stupid nerd stats here. So in the last 13 games, Blackhawks have 3 wins. 4 of them have been, 4 of the 13 games have been overs. 7 are 1-score games. They have scored more than 3 goals 3 times in those 13 games. The Canucks 7-1 the last 8. 6 of those 8 have been overs, to your point, Andre. And then just a little side note, Pettersson, dude, that guy is unbelievable. Like watching him every night and watching him against the Leafs too the other night, like that, he is so good. And it's a contract year for him. I believe he has 1 more year on his deal, but he can start renewing his contract in the summer, I believe. But either way, it's about time for him to talk money, and he is having the year of his life. And it's just unbelievable. 8 goals and 8 points, 5 goals in his last 5 games. I feel like the Blackhawks have an opportunity to keep this within 1. I don't love it. It's a gamble. The odds would suggest that it's plus 145. And we are gambling after all. We do it so much we forget what we forget that it's a gamble sometimes. But listen, this Chicago team has played a lot of really good teams really close and really hard. Winnipeg being one of them, the Oilers being one of them. I minus 1.5 Vancouver is the move. Or sorry, what did you say, Andre? Minus 2.5, right?
Yeah, 2.5 at minus 1.
Yeah. I can't disagree with you. There's just something about how this team has played against good teams recently that's making me nervous on it. And like Mrazek has been standing on his head. I don't know. There's something weird in the air here in Vancouver. And I'm not too sure how to read it. It should be a no-brainer, but just I can't get that Winnipeg game out of my head, and the Oilers game too. Like just super close games. The Oilers game ended up being 3-1, but the Jets game was 2-1. John, what about you, man? Let me guess, you're going minus 4.5. You're just jumping off the deep end.
I'll keep this short because I really don't want to talk about the Blackhawks longer than I have to. If the Blackhawks were the girlfriend I have problems with, in the betting world, Vancouver might as well be my wife. They're such a keeper this year. They're my favorite team to bet on versus the team I least like to bet on. So my heart's talking here. Short and sweet. I'm going to trust my favorite team to bet on to take care of the team that I don't like to bet on. And we're talking about probably the best team in the West versus the worst team. So can we have a normal Blackhawks game for once where they get absolutely crushed and leave with their tails between their legs, get kicked out of the bar? Vancouver 2.5. I would take 4.5 if the odds were good enough.
Mark, can I change my pick to Blackhawks plus 2.5?
Yeah, absolutely you can.
Thank you.
Kiss of death.
Yeah, I just gave the Canucks a kiss of death. They're never
You know
gonna
what's so funny? Full disclosure, okay, behind the scenes, my wonderful wife texted me. I have to go pick her up after this. She texted me. John's talking. I give a quick look down, and I'm not gonna lie, okay? I kind of space out for a sec. And then when I come back to reality, I just hear the worst team, the best team, minus 2.5, plus 2.5. I think you were confusing yourself, John. I think that was, oh man. I
might have got lost in the rant.
I think you might have, but I agree, or I just got lost in the rant. Either one. Yeah, dude, I cannot argue at all. I cannot. It's just maybe I'm the one who has PTSD. PTSD, is that what I just said? Accident. PTSD against
Definitely said that wrong.
With the black. Yeah, I did say it wrong. You're absolutely right. That's a different thing entirely. Against the Blackhawks, because I bet the Jets minus 2.5, remember? And that game has stuck in my melon. So yeah. Are we betting Chicago first goal? That finally burned us on Friday, man.
Yeah, that wouldn't hurt. I'll check the odds real quick.
Yeah.
But that's 2 games in a row they didn't get it because they got shut out the game before. Snapped a 6-game streak. They're plus 175 tonight. Playing a good team. It's looking I kind of like that.
Yeah.
This has classic Blackhawks score first and then give up 6 straight potential.
I am super interested to see how Vancouver plays though, like on serious note, because that game against Toronto on Saturday was a track meet. Like, I didn't text you guys, I don't think. I was about to text you the first 10 minutes into that hockey game. So Vancouver's pretty good. They were up 3-0 like before the first commercial break. It was unbelievable. And then the Leafs come back 3-3, Vancouver 4-3. It was a very hectic game. And you're not getting a game like that against Chicago. So I'm kind of curious to see how Vancouver comes out. All right. Let's just be real about this. We're going to California, and you guys can do a more if you guys don't mind, just while I'm chatting here. I know that San Jose has played 17 games since. Oh, I actually wrote it down here. Perfect. Sharks have played 17 games until since December 15th. They have won 2 of those. In the Kings, so we've been goofing on the Sharks the last month. We feel how we feel. The Kings are 2-12 in their last 14. Let's be real about this. 8 one-score games. Which, remember, that was the Sharks back when we first started this show together back in November, right? Is that the Sharks would lose, but it would always be a close game. It would always be competitive, and that's kind of gone by the wayside. But let's just be real about this Kings team right now. They're minus 380. Why? Based on what?
The Sharks.
Huh?
The Sharks are just that bad, honestly. And I say this
dude,
is someone that really likes setting them.
That's fine, but they have almost the same record. 2-12 the last 14 games, 2-15 the last 17 games for the Sharks. They both stink right now.
I think it just emphasizes how bad the Sharks stink, honestly.
I'm just saying, man. I'm not saying that the Sharks should be like plus 120. I understand. I'm just saying, I don't know, man. I think I'm feeling me some Sharks, but we'll talk ourselves through it. I don't know. I'm getting weird.
Plus 2.5 or something.
I don't know. We'll see what happens. I will. Oh, it just changed. It literally just changed before my eyes. Minus 395, the Kings are now. Jeez. Plus 310 on the Sharks side. The over is 6 at minus 102. The under is minus 118. Oh, plus 1.5 is plus 130 for the Sharks. Minus 150. Or sorry, minus 1.5 is minus 155 for the Kings. John, we'll start with you, man. How do you feel about this game, and why is it the Sharks? Money line.
Not the Sharks stink too much, and I'm someone that really likes to pick them. I think the ship has sailed. The Sharks, they're drowning in the water right now, man. It's really sad to see. They got one random win from what I remember. I think it was against Montreal. I'm not sure if it was them or Ottawa. I forget. But the Sharks, I know you said the Kings are playing bad, and I agree. We've definitely talked about them needing to step it up. But the Sharks have played god-awful, barely watchable hockey lately. And, the Kings, even despite their bad stretch, they're still second in the league in goals allowed. And they're playing like crap offensively. I don't think this is a good matchup for the Sharks at all, especially on the road. I know the Kings aren't a great home team, but the Sharks typically win at home if they win at all. I don't know, man. I know the Kings are playing bad, but I think there's a reason why they're this big of a favorite. I'm gonna roll with them at minus 2.5.
Sure. Andre,
last words.
Yeah.
No, I truly, in my heart of hearts, again, because I apparently was on something earlier today, I have a bet that involves the Sharks winning already. But honest to God, I think Sharks plus 1.5 is a good bet here.
I do too.
I know the first 2 times these teams met, the Kings did what they were supposed to do against this team. I think the combined score, the aggregate, if you will, is 9-2.
Mhm.
But the Kings aren't playing well, and they're losing a lot of one-goal games. Their win on Saturday against the Rangers was by 1 goal. And they're not really scoring. We've been saying it for a while. Outside of that Carolina game, pucks aren't finding the net. So if you're asking them to win by multiple goals, the first step in that is them scoring multiple goals. And I understand it's the Sharks, but the Sharks have seen them 3 times. Or this will be the 3rd time they're seeing them. The Sharks do fight. If you're going to point out where the Sharks falter, I'd say the offense is worse than the goaltending. I think they're a little bit more competitive defensively. I know it's not like a ringing endorsement. So I like the under 6 here a lot. And I like Sharks plus 1.5 in a low scoring game. I'm not buying LA beating anyone resoundingly right now.
It's been a tough watch with the Kings lately, and I mean, like you said, John, like don't get me wrong, man. I know that the Sharks aren't like awesome, but the Kings, like, they're not scoring goals, and it doesn't really matter who they play. Like, they're just not playing well, and they're regressing. I know Kim Talbot is not in the net tonight, and their backup goalie, Mr. Riddick, he is like they're counting on him to be this savior right now. He's had a pretty good year, but I don't know, man. I'm feeling that Andre plus 1.5 at plus 130. And listen, there is going to be a $2 parlay, a toonie, as we call it up here, a toonie, with the Sharks on it. I feel like they have a chance tonight. I just do. That's just how I feel. You can't tell me how to feel, John. That's just how I feel. All right. It is 6:32. Games are starting soon. Let's move on to our best bets. Andre, let's start with you, man. What is your best bet on this Monday night?
Yeah, this is tricky. I think I'm gonna go with the Golden Knights money line though at plus 100. They won 3 in a row. I'm sorry, I'm John. I'm sorry. I really like you, but
You're
Devils are not playing well right now. They're not scoring, which is kind of their identity. They gave up 6 goals in their last game, and they've had issues at home in Prudential all season. So I like the plus money for Vegas here.
John, what about you, bro? Let me guess.
Someone's got to keep a
Devils
rational
money line.
Close, but no.
Oh, that would have been spicy.
Someone's got to keep a rational head for betting, but I feel like we're going head-to-head tonight, boys. My best bet is kind of one I also disagree with you guys on. I think the Kings absolutely crushed the Sharks tonight. Give me them as my best bet.
You can't. My best bet's the Sharks money line. What are you going to do? I'm just kidding.
John, you want 2.5 or 1.5?
I'm debating because like 1.5 is minus 155. So
yeah,
but part of a parlay that might be more tempting.
You can go 3.5.
No, I'm not going that crazy.
All right, I'll put 1.5. Oh, it's plus 1.5. Don't do that.
Go 2.5, John.
Screw it. I'll go 2.5.
That's right. Be a man.
I do think the Kings are going to handle them tonight. I really do.
Love it. Absolutely love
it. I say that as someone that loved betting the Sharks last month.
Do you know what sucks though, John? Full disclosure, man. Last time I doubted one of your best bets. I didn't bet our best bets, and it won. So maybe I just gotta swallow my pride, just have some of that humble pie, and trust you. Kings minus 2.5. I guess so. Let's go for it. All right. I don't know. I don't know. I know it's not the most like lockable bet. Like you wouldn't say like lock of the day or anything, because I think that this is going to be the best game of the night, and I think this could go either way. And the odds are swinging in Boston's favor more and more as we do this show. Boston's now minus 148. It started off at what, like minus 130 something, then minus 142. Now it's minus 148. And Winnipeg is plus 124. I really think that Winnipeg is going to win this game tonight. And it's a bit of a long shot, best bet. But this Winnipeg team's been making me money all year. They've been playing phenomenal hockey. I think they are. Them and Vancouver. I watch all these teams every single night, and I really do feel like Vancouver and Winnipeg are the two best teams in the league, and I think Winnipeg wins this game tonight. Winnipeg plus 124. And I am kind of shocked that these odds keep going in Boston's favor. Like, unless some breaking news is dropped that I'm not seeing while we're on the show. But I like Winnipeg, man. I know you disagree, Andre. Sorry, it's how I feel.
Yeah, it's if Boston
I would
loses,
feel bad when you and I disagree. It like gets me high when John and I disagree, but when you and I disagree.
Yeah, I'm sorry I don't produce the same rush, but we'll work on it. We'll work on it. Our parlay for the day, or I guess our best bets for the day, I picked the Golden Knights plus 100. John picked the LA Kings minus 2.5 at plus 105. Mark, you picked the Winnipeg Jets at plus 124.
Mm-hmm.
The odds, if you put it together, are plus 818.
Love it. Awesome. John, you better be right, man. I know Andre and I are right. We'll see.
I have to root against this parlay, though, boys, because it involves my team losing.
That's what we call an emotional hedge, right?
That's true.
You put a little $10 on it, or even $5, and if your team loses,
you make money.
Yeah, but then if your team loses and my bet's wrong or your bet, then it just sucks either way.
If the Devils lose and the Kings don't cover, it'll be a tough night.
Yeah, that's a tough pill to swallow. But to everybody, thank you so much for joining us late on this Monday night. We'll be back tomorrow, normal time, 3:30 p.m. Good luck on all of your bets. Check out Gridiron Heroics. I'm sure both these dudes will be writing on the crazy week that is in the NFL after the playoffs on the weekend. Once again, good luck on all your bets. Please follow at Sport Addict Mark, firstroundcollectibles.com, 10% off with promo code SportsAddict. We will see you